Good evening and welcome to a very special edition of In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral. My name is Ross Brierley. It is, of course, the Halloween edition, otherwise known as the Breeders' Cup Show. We're off to sunny Del Mar in Southern California, a track we were back at in 2021, and we've got the usual European invasion, going to try and nick big pots of prize money from the American hosts. We have also got the PR machine in overdrive once again with City of Troy going for the Classic. And we've got a bit of Ryan Moore versus Frankie Dettori. We've got some cracking Japanese raiders as well. Pretty much everything you want for a top-class international racing festival. There's loads of races, isn't there? We quite comfortably could be here all night talking about it, or all morning. Or all afternoon if you're over in America, but we're going to focus on some of the best races. We'll rattle through selections in the others, and those on the shoulder of the cards. You're going to have to work those ones out yourself, or maybe get involved on the obscure DRF Bayer figures, whatever you want to do on those races earlier on the card over the course of the weekend. It is live and interactive right now, a little bit earlier than expected, admittedly, but this is the trying to juggle the time difference with here in California. But a good evening to Robert Ballard, to Mr. Smith, to Gary Stewart, to Alex Wilco, to Alex Neil, to Lee Richardson, to Connor, and anyone else who joins in from here on in. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, and also get your selections in on the chat. Are you siding with the Europeans? Are you siding with City of Troy? Or do you think that price is absurd? It's up to you to tell us in the chat box. What a team we've got for you as well to go through the cars at Del Mar over the next couple of days. Joined in the studio for the first time a couple of years ago on another show doing national hunt racing, I think, in the middle of the winter. Very different feel for Tony Ennis over the next couple of days. You are a regular Sky Sports Racing stateside presenter, so I'm sure your mind is full of all the track configurations and form lines that we're going to have to dig into on both the turf and the dirt, or at least I'm hoping you are, especially on the dirt, because quite frankly, if it ain't Sutherland Chelmsford, then it ain't for me. How are you fixed for the weekend?
Yeah, I followed it all the last few months very closely. Obviously, we cover a lot of it on the stateside programme on Sky Sports Racing and things. So I've been following all the trials. Watched a lot of the Keeneland, the Saratoga races, all through the summer. So yeah, I'm up to speed on the dirt performance. Whether that helps me pick winners or not, I don't know. It's always something that always surprises you at the Breeders' Cup, isn't it? It's never quite as easy as you think it might be, these races. But look, I'm hoping we get some European winners. I think we should score quite heavily in certain races. Not sure about the Classic. Aidan O'Brien, was it 0 from 16 going into that? But will City of Troy win the race that he wants to win so badly?
Here's a weird question. Do you want him to win? Would it please you as a purist? Would you like to see an impressive performance from City of Troy? Or, like I said, I think a few people are maybe getting a little bit tired of the PR machine to a certain extent, but it would be something special to see him actually pull it off.
I would love to see him win.
Yeah.
I'd love to see. It'd be fantastic, wouldn't it, to have a horse who could win the Derby in midsummer and the first Saturday in June, and then go on to the first Saturday in November and win the Breeders' Cup Classic on a different surface against the Americans in their own backyard. I think he'd have to go down as one of the best, wouldn't he, if he does that? Looking at his season, obviously the Guineas was the flop, wasn't it? But after that, the Eclipse, he wasn't quite his best that day. The Jobot International was a brilliant performance, wasn't it? On speed figures and things. And if he wins this race and beats the likes of Fierceness and Forever Young, the best of the Americans in Fierceness and Sierra Leone, the best of the Japanese in Forever Young, then he'd have to go down as one of the best, wouldn't he, I'd imagine?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be interesting as well, because you could have, on the day at Newmarket, if you'd said you got to Del Mar at the back end of October and both City of Troy and Notable Speech could double up several months later. Yeah, it's quite an interesting. The flat season's been a little strange. In a way, it's kind of good we've had City of Troy, because we've had some real fantastic performances, but it's kind of like one horse rises to the occasion and then someone else takes over and then someone else takes over. City of Troy's kind of been the backbone throughout the season. Yeah,
it has, isn't he? And of course, champion 2-year-old as well, as too was Fierceness. Of course, he was champion juvenile in America. So we've got the two champion 2-year-olds, one from Europe and one from America, meeting in the Classic. That wouldn't have happened, I don't think, before. So, that's fantastic. So many horses don't train on, do they? The brilliant 2-year-olds we've seen before not go on as 3-year-olds, but both of these two clearly have. Fierceness, a bit, not similar to City of Troy. His bomb out was in the Kentucky Derby when he ran no race at all. But since then he's won the Jim Dandy, he's won the Travers, And the 2-3-year-olds meeting in the Classic like this, of course, it's normally a race you can, maybe the older horses do well in, but it's the 2-3-year-olds who dominate the betting this time around.
Yeah, like you said, maybe that makes it a race to take an alternative opinion in. We're joined live from California as well by Michelle Yu. First time on the In the Know Breeders' Cup preview, ready and raring to go. I've just googled Del Mar weather, Michelle, and it's only 19 degrees and bright sunshine. You must be a little bit disappointed. Surely you're used to at least mid-20s.
I don't know. I don't know when it's not Fahrenheit how hot that is.
Yeah, I apologise. Yeah, I forgot about that. I've completely thrown you a conversion curveball there. Anyway, but are you ready, raring to go? Like you said, you've got an incredibly busy weekend coming up, haven't you? So first of all, thank you ever so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a great week leading up to the Breeders' Cup. Got to be on the ground at Santa Anita to see final works from those horses. And then I've been out here the last couple of days. We got to see all the Japanese horses, all the European horses. I even visited with Isuvungu this morning, the South African horse. So really have gotten to see a lot of horses in the flesh this week. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. Yeah,
fantastic. Well, it's a great angle to bring in. A couple of things for you. First off, City of Troy is a warm favourite over in here. I imagine are the American dirt trainers and jockeys kind of laughing in the face of City of Troy's attempt, going, yeah, sure, come on, bring it on, we'll beat you again?
Actually, I don't think that they are. I mean, we've tried to ask all the dirt trainers when they see him. We talked to Bob Baffert and everything. Like, what do you think about City of Troy? And they all do think that he's more Galileo than Justify. But you can't disrespect Aiden when he brings over a legitimate contender. I do think it's a little crazy just from a betting standpoint that he's going to be favored because he hasn't done anything on the dirt. So it's a little crazy, but also this field is not like a standout classic field with like a whole bunch of older horses in here. This is a year a horse like him could step up.
Absolutely. Okay. And you said you've been watching plenty of workouts. Do you when it gets to sort of the Breeders' Cup, is there a danger from your perspective of almost paralysis by analysis? Can you see too much?
Yeah, you can't see too much. I think the problem is the Breeders' Cup, you expect these horses to look good, and they look so good. And you're like, that horse looks good. That horse looks good. That horse looks good. You almost have to look for the one that doesn't look as great as you would expect to look.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're trying to pick the best of the best of the best, which is a little bit harder than trying to find the future graded performer, I guess, in maidens and whatnot. So okay, well, I'm looking forward to picking your brains on your angles for the weekend. Simon Clare has got on a plane and headed over to California. I'm sure it was a big decision for you, Simon. I'm sure there was a lot of arm twisting going on. Have you been enjoying the week?
Well, I think I've acclimated, as they say here in the States. I'm sorry I've not got a better backdrop. This is my hotel bedroom. But actually, you talk about the best of the best. Well, we're not that far from Miramar and Fighter Town, where, of course, Top Gun was filmed, where Maverick took on Iceman to become the best of the best. And I suppose let's hope City of Troy is Maverick and he ends up victorious in the end. But it's definitely the talk of the town here, talk of Del Mar. Everyone's coming up asking, do you fancy City of Troy or not? All the professional punters are looking at it as a huge opportunity to lay them. I've spoken to many of them who have come here to watch the meeting, and they can't wait to lay City of Troy or bet around him, leave him out of the three with their exotics. But then there's all the people caught up in the emotion of it. I'm one of those. We'll come to the Classic later. But when you've been following the Coolmore mission to try and win the Classic, and you've seen them come close a couple of times, seen them get well beaten on many occasions, and it's all about whether you believe this particular horse has got what it takes to step up and run to his best on the dirt on Saturday afternoon, not night now. They've got the Classic in the middle of the card. But make no mistake, even back in the UK, I was speaking to James in trading, the amount of money which has been piling on City of Troy in the last week or so, he is the marquee horse, the star on show on Saturday, particularly on the English side of the pond. So all eyes on City of Troy.
Lovely stuff. And Michelle, just going to come back to you in terms of the Del Mar track. Of course, we saw the Breeders' Cup hosted here a couple of years ago. It's pretty bloody tight, isn't it? Let's be honest. Track position is absolutely key because they're going to be rattling around those bends.
That's not the fact the itself is, but also way that we run races here, a lot of horses that are fully placed just end up being better placement to finish well because we have abbreviated stretches here. And I think that's really important. Horses that have run or jockeys that have ridden here or watched a lot of races, stretch, you turn for home and you are there. A lot of racetracks can make up ground in the stretch. And here you almost have to start that run pre-turn in the turn, depending on which surface you're on. But it comes up very quick to the wire.
Okay, lovely stuff. And Simon, what do we got offers-wise?
Yeah, just quick shout out of the offers. Firstly, the Pips of the Post off we've been running recently is going to be run on the Classic. So if your horse comes second, beating the neck in the Classic, you'll be paid out as a winner. And there have been some mighty close finishes. In fact, your horses like Toast New York and Giants Causeway were, of course, involved in very tight finishes in the Classic. So it could be City of Troy beaten by a narrow margin. You might still get paid as a winner, up to £10. A couple of ones for the meeting. Frankie Dettori, we thought he'd retired. Well, he's riding more horses than ever now in America. He's loving it out there. The sunshine. He says it's easier, not so much travelling because, of course, the horses are all based at the track for the duration of the meet. So, he's loving life. And he's got eight rides, would you believe, at the Breeders' Cup. Several on dirt as well. He's 6-4 to ride at least one winner. That's from even money. He's 12-1 to ride two or more. And he's got plenty of good chances, the likes of Emily Upjohn, Content, Ides of March, etc., amongst the 8. And then finally, even money, a British train winner to win the Turf Sprint. We're loaded there. That's for the whole hour of the show. Believing, Bradsell, Big Evs, Starless and Star of Mystery amount a strong challenge for the Turf Sprint. That's even money for them to win. And then 7-1, City of Troy to win the Classic by over one length. So 7-2 to win the Classic by over one length. He's at 7-4 at the moment to win the race. If you think he's going to win and win well, you can get it 7-2, and that's the next hour, £20 max.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, we'll be getting stuck into Friday after this. Okay, here we go then. Let's have a look at the pick of some of Friday's races, shall we? Starting off with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprints, with plenty of European interest here. But it is Japanese raider Koro Sieg, who is 4-1 favourite. Asterius 5-1, Whistle Jacket 5-1, Big Mojo 5-1, Ides of March 8-1, Shareholder 9-1, Magnum Force 10's Governor Sam is 11-1, and we've also got a few more, including Arizona Blaze going over for Adrian Murray after being finishing a very close up fourth at Dundalk a few weeks ago. Very different proposition at Del Mar, that is for sure. Wide open stuff. I mean, we've got a 4-1 favourite coming over from Japan, and so at the top of the betting. Before we dig into the European form, I mean, I initially looked at his pedigree, and I thought, okay, so we've got a 5 furlong 2-year-old with the pedigree where, quite frankly, he should be stretching out over a mile. What's he all about? Why the 4-1 favouritism?
Yeah, I mean, he's looked very good at Chorus. So I think the first thing to say about this race, Ross, is how weak the Americans are in this race. I'd be amazed if this race isn't going to export tomorrow or on Friday night. It just looks like a weak home contingent. I think Okoro Sieg has to be on top of the list, really. He's got loads of early pace. I'm not worried about stall 8. I think he'd be able to slide across quite easily from there. He's got that early pace that can get him out of that sort of position. He broke the track record at Nakayama last time out, which had stood for many years, so that's got to read well if you follow your Japanese form. Look, a lot to like. I think he's going to be in front early on, and is something going to be able to back run him? That's the question. I mean, I think the best of the Brits would be Asterius for me. He's now got the inside draw, isn't he? He's been improving all year. His form ties in with Big Mojo and Whistle Jacket, of course. Whistle Jacket's been on the go for a long time, isn't he? He's one of the busiest 2-year-olds. But yeah, I think Okoro Sieg would have to be top of the list for me. But Archie Watson's Asterius. Archie Watson, I was listening to him do an interview the other day. Very, very good trainer, knows what to do with these 2-year-olds. Has been on the go a long time, but he's getting better, and he's got a really sharp turn of foot, and he could be running on. The draw suggests it might be tricky because he's going to be on the inside, but I'd take two. I'd take Okoro Sieg and Asterius. I could play them both, and I'd be pretty confident one of them would win.
Okay. Okoro Sieg is a 4-1 shot, Asterius 5-1. Yeah, I mean, with a bit of luck, Asterius could kind of be unbeaten this season. I mean, Maybe should have beat Big Mojo at Goodwood. Wasn't in the right position at Royal Ascot. And James Doyle in particular, if anyone can can run a big race on Asterius from that inside box, it's certainly him. He's had an absolute blinding year on juveniles in particular. But Michelle, what do you make of the juvenile turf sprint? Again, I mean, last time this was run at it's normally a European trainers, isn't it? Apart from it's either European trainers or Wesley Ward, and there ain't no Wesley Ward, so it has opened it up a little bit. Talk to us about your idea of the best European horse, and also what Akoro Sieg brings to the table.
So I think you guys pretty much hit it square on the head watching the horses here all week. I mean, Asterius has just been so impressive day after day. We see him and we don't know who he is quite yet because we have to get our cameras close enough, but he is catching the eye from a physical standpoint. And then you get close and you're like, oh, it's just Asterius again. So he looks sensational bringing in those back-to-back wins. I also think Whistle Jacket, it's Captain Obvious. Over here, though, he's 5-1 on the morning line. If you got that price on race day, I feel like that would be a very, very square price. I don't know if you will, because I mean, Aiden Ryan and a horse with as much class as he has, I think he should be super tough. The turn back in distance could be questionable just because going a little bit sharper, and I do think we're going to have some US style speed in here. Could be interesting. We don't have US style speed. It's going to come from the Japanese horse. I mean, that horse is fast. He looks fast. He runs fast. He just looks like a little rocket ship. I mean, he could make all in this and you wouldn't blink an eye, and you would think that's a very, very comfortable winner. I think part of the reason that we're just a little light on the U.S. horses is just a lack of opportunity for some of these sprint races out here. We only really have 2 or 3 in California, and that's a lot of times we get some of our faster horses from. And all of the races that are turf sprints out on the East Coast are the 5.5, the 6, and they're getting a little longer. And we have to cut them up to the 5. It just makes it a little bit tougher. Looking at Gardner Sam, George Weaver comes in with 4 straight turf victories. All of those go in the 5.5. I'm just really unhappy with his draw. I mean, you're in the 10 hole, hung out there. It's going to come up on the turn very fast. Is he good enough to win? Maybe, but is he good enough to win sticking 4 around the turn? I'm not entirely sure, because Japan takes that turn at full speed. He's going to be gone.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And Simon, very fast apparently, Kurasi. Although again, if this was a British race, I'd say there's fast over 6, and then there's fast over 5 against horses who have spent all season being fast over 5.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that this is a unique test. We saw that. I followed Big Ev's closely last year, and you need a horse who's very fast, who's going to handle and navigate that bend, that quick bend, and then short straight, handle the fast ground. It really requires that sort of absolute speed ball. And I think that's the question about Whistle Jacket. He's the best horse who's ever run in this race, I think, on ratings. He's won the Prix Morny, and yet he's a 6 furlong horse. Has he actually got that real zip and speed to get a position early and show his class? He could do, but I'm not backing him. And Akora, I don't know about the Japanese horse. Everyone is talking of him. He's now clear favourite. He's been well backed, 4-1. He is probably the most talked up Japanese horse of them all, and quite a few are being talked up. And then you've got the likes of Asterius and Big Mojo, are more like the Big Ev's form. Probably Asterius more than Big Mojo, even though Big Mojo's in the same stable. I know McAppy is very happy with him and thinks he'll run well from that to inside post, but I don't think he's quite got that raw speed of Big Ev's. But I think Asterius has, so he's my idea of a winner. But I think it's a fascinating race. And we've got a couple of specials. Aidan O'Brien to train the winner. He's got the 2 in the race, Ides of March, who's an 8-1 chance, and Whistle Jacket, who's 5s. You can get 100-30, those 2 combined, either to win. And we've also got a special for the Friday night, 11-10, a Japanese horse to win at least 1 juvenile contest. And as well as Akori Sieg, I think we're pronouncing it, they've got a couple in the juvenile, a couple in the juvenile fillies, and 1 in the juvenile turfs. They've got lots of good juveniles running on Friday night. So if you think Japanese are going to leave Friday with at least 1 winner and get 11-10. But for me, I think Asterius is the solid choice, but I'll be fascinated to watch this Japanese horse because he really is the talk of that first night.
Okay, lovely stuff. Thank you, Simon. Right then, moving on then to the 10:25 over here. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies on the dirt. Let's get the betting up there. Scottish Lassie and Immersive are 5-2. American Bikini 4-1. Lacara 10-1. Nooney 12s with Quick Kick. 14-1 Vodka with a twist, and 16-1 Bar. Those non-compliant doesn't go here for this at this 10:25 race. We're over 1.5 miles a furlong here. I'm going to come to you first, Michelle. 1.5 miles a furlong for the juveniles on the dirt at Del Mar. Again, is it still going to be very tight and key over the track position even over this trip?
I mean, I think that if you're drawing to the outside, you could be at a hindrance. This field is not as deep as far as like numbers go. We see some bigger fields, so these fillies might have a little bit more time to kind of sort themselves out where you won't be hung extremely wide. But for me, that was one reason why I wanted to play against Scottish Lassie. She's a filly that has enough speed and she likes to be forwardly placed to kind of get herself up there, but I don't know if she's fast enough to get up and clear a lot of them. I mean, she's definitely not going to be able to clear Noonie down towards her inside, so I'm worried she is going to get hung extremely wide on that first turn. She might end up making up some ground on the backside and being able to tuck in somewhere. But then again, coming for home, she's either going to have to try and make a really early move and clear again, or she's going to be stuck wide because it's going to be too hard to wait until you're coming clear of the turn to be able to make that run. So for me, I'm going to play against her. I'm going to go more towards the inside with Immersive. I thought that she looked sensational. Winning the Alcibiades, she obviously already has that run over the mile and a 16th distance, which is what the Alcibiades is run at. She has just enough tactical speed to put herself in a good position, breaking from towards the inside. And I love the fact that she's kind of carried her A game around, right? I mean, she ran at Saratoga and then she ran at Keeneland. She's been training well here. She's run well on fast track. She's run well in the mud. And obviously now she's routed. It's like everything that Brad Cox has asked of her, she says, yes, sir, I can do that. So I really love a nice workman like filly. And to me, that's Immersive. She's the best horse to play in this race.
Okay, lovely stuff. Then Immersive is a 5-2 shot. Brad Cox won this in 2019 over at Santa Anita. Any angle on the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies for you, Enzo?
I agree with a lot of what Michelle was saying about Immersive. Really like this filly. People were questioning her win at Keeneland and the Darley Alcibiades. Thought she wobbled a bit late on, but I don't know. I thought she put a lot of effort in between the 3 and the 2. She did a lot of running to get to the front and got a little bit tired, understandably so. She was up in trip that day, as Michelle was saying as well, the first time she routed. But I really like her. First thing about this race, there's so much early pace in it, though. There were so many horses who want to go forward, as Michelle said. Noonie will go forward. Scottish Lassie's a front runner. Lacara's got early pace as well. I don't think Immersive will sit too far back, maybe midfield-ish. The unknown, again, is the Japanese, isn't it? This American Bikini. The fact they put Ryan Moore, though, kind of is going to fill people's with confidence, I think, about this filly's chances. I watched her last win. She's done it well, but again, we don't know how good the form is, do we? We can't trying to equate that form from Japan coming over to America, very difficult. But look, she's done everything right. Drawing stall 9, maybe a bit wider than ideal. But you've got the experience of Ryan Moore. He's going to do everything right on her, isn't he? So I think she's a big player, but she's not a great price now. She's quite short in the betting. I'm with Immersive. I'm against Scottish Lassie. She was a big price when she won last time out, so maybe Court Connection's out that day. Out in stall 10 as well, as Michelle said. She's going to be hung very wide. I think she's going to get hooked up in a real speed burn-up with Lacara and Noonie into that first bend as well. So Immersive sits handy, picks it up about furlong out and wins, hopefully.
Okay, Immersive then is 5-2 joint favourite, Scottish Lassie, but Echo Zulu won this race at Del Mar a few years ago and made all from box 6. Scottish Lassie is going to be coming from a wide draw here, Simon, from a Scottish Lassie to a Irish laddie. What do you make of this?
I think it's a fascinating. I think if you they're both the same price, Immersive and Scottish Lassie. And
There we go. Well, it was such a fascinating angle from Simon. It's crashed the broadcast there, so we'll try and get him back. But anyway, there's the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies on the dirt for you. Let's move on, shall we, to the 11.05, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies on the turf this time, where we've got a short price European raider in the shape of Late Victoria, going over to try and do what Meditate did a few years ago. She's even money. Thought Process at 5-1, Heaven's Gate 8-1, Scythian 12-1, Virgin Gallardo 16s, 18s, Fiery Lucy. Now you'd think that the juveniles on the turf, this will be a bit of a European benefit as well. But apart from Meditate, it isn't. However, I think it's fair to say that if that Newmarket win is anything to go by, Enzo, that Late Victoria is probably the best horse that the Europeans have sent over to contest this race in quite some time. I mean, she was unbelievable at Newmarket. She's unbeaten in 4. She's getting better and better with every single run. She's got that beautiful mix, both pedigree and on the track so far, of speed and stamina. She can lie up early on, but then finishes her races really well. But yeah, that European record ain't great, so even money might be a bit short for a few people.
The worry I've got about her, Ross, is the draw. I hate stall 1 for Late Victoria, because if she misses it, she's going to be in trouble. Obviously, people think, oh, when you're talking about Stall 1 must be the best draw. It isn't always for a horse like this. If she just misses it even a half step, she could be in trouble because there's going to be horses going up on her outside. She might have to take back on the inside. All of a sudden, you shuffle back 6th or 7th and you've got a mountain to climb. Look, she could be like Meditate and win this race easily.
I mean, let's be honest, Meditate.
It was
both easy and it wasn't easy. It was visually incredible.
Incredible how she won. But I think she's probably a better filly than Meditate.
Yeah.
Newmarket was amazing. How she was in front, racing what I thought was quite free, and to quicken like she did from the front up into the rising ground was amazing.
I mean, an RPR of 116 last time out is pretty lofty.
She's done everything right. Thought process. I don't like backing West Coast horses in this race. Was very impressive visually last time out, but didn't beat a great deal that day. Heaven's Gate, I don't think is as good as Lake Victoria. It's a sort of race where I could play a couple each way at prices because I don't want to back Lake Victoria at odds on or even money, even though I think she's the likeliest winner. The two I like, Virgin Colada. Chad Brown's got a great record on this race, and Scythian as well, who's got stall 4 for Bill Mott. I think they're about 16s, 18s, 20s, those sort of prices. I think one of them or both of them could make the frame. So that's how I'll be playing this race. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Lake Victoria win. I think she's a top-class filly, as you say. 4 out of 4, done nothing wrong. She's going to be possibly the European banker, I think, this time around, which is always a horse that has the most pressure going to any Breeders' Cup. But look, I just don't the draws. Just if she was in 4 or 5, I'd be really happy.
Yeah.
I just think being in 1, if she just misses it, it wouldn't matter so much if you're a bit wider. Ryan could just drop in and take his time. But being in 1, he might just get shuffled back on the paint.
The only counterpoint to that is how many times have I said, and Ryan Moore does exactly what he has to do. And
I mean, his ride on August Rodan last year
yes.
was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How he got around the inside. So he loves coming up the inside at these Breeders' Cups, Ryan Moore. He will be looking for that rail.
There's also a key stat to this race from stall 1.
Take it away, sir.
The last winner to win, the last time the Breeders' Cup was at Del Mar. I think Pizza Bianchi won from stall 1, and in 2017, best performance was second from stall 1. So I mean, stall 1 it's not quite as tough, I think, on the turf races over a mile as it sometimes is on the dirt races. So I'd be less concerned about it, particularly given she's got quite a lot of speed. So
I'm just remembering that Pizza Bianca race as well. I mean, it was
a miracle ride, to be fair.
It was a miracle ride, and it was also one of the most ridiculous finish of the entire weekend as well. I mean, coming into the home straight, it was literally. Any horse in that race could have won, and Pizza Bianca did get the job done. But I mean, we have seen some good European horses beaten in this, Simon.
Oh, plenty.
But I mean, Porta Fortuna, for example, Lake Victoria, again going on RPRs, is £8 better than she was at Newmarket coming into this race. So I mean, yeah.
I think she's got a great chance. I mean, this is a top-class filly that Aidan O'Brien's bringing. He's bringing some good ones normally. Meditate was a good one, but this is what favourite for the Guineas next year. Ryan and Moore on board. I think she's got a great chance. Michelle will give us a lowdown probably on what the best American challenge. But it's quite interesting. I think Enzo mentioned it. In the race's history, no winner has prepped in California. Stats there to be broken, but thought process will have to break that stat. And funny enough, the 2 each way chance he mentioned, Virgin Colada, Chad Brown's record is insane. Virgin Colada, it doesn't look quite as good as Hard to Justify, but she'll be running a decent race, I'm sure. And Scythian, trained by Hall of Famer Bill Mott, won the Miss Grillo, and that's the best trial for the race from the American side. So they're the each way plays, and I think Lake Victoria, if you are a favourite backer, I think she might be one of the best favourites of the meeting.
Okay, Michelle, tell us what are the vibes about Lake Victoria over in California?
I think everybody's pretty much backing Lake Victoria. Even the connections of Thought Process, who I'm very close with, when he found out that Lake Victoria was coming, he called the trainer and he was like, "Oh no, I thought we had a chance, and now Lake Victoria is coming." So, I mean, they like their filly, but they all love Lake Victoria. So I think that it's just, can we beat her or not? Thought Process, even though she is California-based, that could be a positive for her because she has a lot of affinity for this particular turf course. She was able to win 2 races here this summer at Del Mar, and our Del Mar race meet is a very, very challenging race. Obviously, a lot of the juveniles we haven't gotten to see do a ton just because we haven't had as much opportunity as maybe they do on the East Coast. We kind of have 2 route juvenile turf races, and that's it, one for each sex. So that's what we have seen from Thought Process. I love the fact that she has actually shown a lot of improvement. If you watch her, she went from being a little bit on the green side to really putting things together last time out, and for her to finish up and be a winner going away is not easy for a 2-year-old, I don't think. I'm very happy with her draw because she's very kind and do what you want her to do and knows her so well. I think she breaks sharp. He gets her out there. He's able to kind of save some ground. And if she ends up on the lead, she'll be happy. If she ends up tracking just off and maybe in third or so, I think that Dill should be very happy from there as well. And from what I've seen from her training wise, she has been a model of consistency. She doesn't have like bad works or anything, but B, she is getting a lot more keen to do her job. When you watched her work this summer on the grass, it was a little bit for Hector to get her going, like, hey, catch that horse in front of you. And now when you let her down and say, hey, we're catching that horse, she's like, I got you, boss. So I've seen mental maturation from her. And even though you guys don't like the California-based horses in this race, I think she has a good shot in here if something goes awry with Lake Victoria.
I would like to just to point out, by the way, that when you say we don't, it's just Simon. Just take it out on Simon. So,
Yes, Simon.
Oh no, I'm over here. Damn.
that's it exactly. You've really you've screwed it now, Simon. People are going to be coming for you at the track. Okay, Lake Victoria then from box one is an even money shot for the Juvenile Fillies turf. Really. I mean, she's probably personally one of the most exciting horses of the whole weekend. Especially as that pedigree as well. I mean, Quiet Reflection was a fantastic sprinter, but she's bred stayers, she's bred milers, she's bred sprinters. Obviously, she's bifrancal as well. Yeah, like I said, I know what you mean about that box one, but there is that bell in the back of my mind that every
she's
time.
Just too good.
Well, just Ryan. Every time I question will he get it right, he gets it right.
He does, doesn't he? In these the big occasion, he's the man, isn't he? I mean, obviously, John Velasquez, I used to think was the big man for the big occasion in America, but Ryan Moore, obviously, over in Europe and all over the world, he's proven it, isn't he? He's ridden winners, Breeders' Cups. He's ridden winners in Australia, big winners as well. He's just all over the world. He's just one of the finest riders.
Oh, I mean,
if not the best.
The old, the old ice in the veins is an understatement, I think. But okay, right, rattling on then to the 11:45, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile here, where East Avenue is 2-1 favourite. Chancer McPatrick is 9-2. Jonathan's Way 6-1. Gaming 7-1. Citizen Bull 8-1. Ferocious 9-1, and then 16-1. Bar those, including the 1-1 Japanese raider Shin Believe. Then here, but it is East Avenue again in the Godolphin Blue, who has the betting here at odds of 2-1, and. Obviously we've had a huge story with Cody's Wish over the past few seasons, Michelle, and now that bloodline is being represented once again by the 2-2 East Avenue, who stepped up in trip last time out and absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah, he looked fantastic last time out when running in the British Futurity over at Keeneland. Obviously, he gets the route of ground, and he has trained so forwardly for Brendan Walsh since he comes out every day when Aiden's horses come out. So a lot of people are kind of ignoring how good he looks, but he has looked sensational. He is really good looking in the flesh, and he's a big colt. He doesn't look like a juvenile. If you lined him up with a bunch of the classic horses, just say, he would fit right in line with them. He is a very mature looking 2-year-old. I think that the race does go through him. I think that Brendan has brought him here in tip-top shape, and mentally I think he's prepared to handle this challenge. He does break from the rail, but he's got a little bit of speed, although I don't feel like necessarily he seems like a need-the-lead type. He looks very kind when he's out galloping. I wouldn't be surprised if he got good position if someone wanted to just gung-ho go and pass, one of the Bafferts, possibly getaway car gets up there, that he would be content to just rate off of him. But I want to talk about a long shot horse, if that's okay. I thought the 3 Hill Road, and you guys will know more about this horse than I will, was so impressive this week on track. They actually broke him out of the gate and worked him a half mile. He has a stride for days. I mean, he was just gobbling up the main track here. He's obviously never run on the dirt before, but he's by Quality Road. He's out of a Lemon Drop Kid mare that is a dirt on dirt pedigree. And he should really appreciate the extra distance. And his work was just really eye-opening. He's 30-1 on the morning line. I don't know if he's good enough to beat East Avenue or Chance McPatrick, but when we're talking about juveniles and everyone only has 2 starts, they're saying how much more improvement we can get from him. But based on his work, he is a must-use somewhere for me.
Okay, wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't quite know what to make of that national stakes. And so, obviously, we've seen it's heavily represented. Hill Road's got a big prize here and was comfortably beaten, but you've got Amoris City Seagulls 11, Henri Matisse going over as well. But I don't know. It looked a weird old renewal this year, but I'm intrigued to see how it goes. How it unfolds.
Yeah, Hill Road, fascinating runner that Michelle was talking about there. I mean, East Avenue's going to try and get on the lead, isn't he, from stall 1 here again. I'm a big Chancellor McPatrick fan, though. I tipped him up on his debut when he won. It was an incredible performance. He came from miles off the pace. If you stop the race on the home turn that he can't win, it was almost like a Zenyatta finish on the outside. He went past everything and won by a length. Followed up in a Grade 1 second time out. Won the Champagne Stakes last time. He's an exciting horse, Chancellor McPatrick. But he goes against the grain. I always think speed on the dirt at Del Mar, and here I am tipping a deep closer. But sometimes a horse just captures the imagination. He's drawn 10. I don't think it's going to matter. He's going to be last probably early on. But he has got some stretch run. I think Flavillon Pratt.
Can I interrupt you
just real
Michelle? Quick? So just I was talking to Chad Brown earlier today, and we were actually just talking about Sierra Leone and how far back that he likes to be. And Chad is very aware of how forwardly placed horses run better at Del Mar, and he wants already Sierra Leone to be more close to the pace he generally has. I wouldn't be surprised to see Chancellor McPatrick also trying to take a little bit too clear, be a little bit more in touch, but he's not going to be able to make up a ton of ground, I don't feel like, on this track. All of his races for one turn, even the mile. So this will be his first time on 2 turns, and naturally they're going to slow down a bit in front of him, unless you just have the one runaway leader. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him more in touch than you think.
Okay. Although, admittedly, just again, it was not a particular race I have a particular opinion on, but from hearing what you talk about this, you were saying about Box 1, on the turf, but also front runners coming out of box.
Yeah.
But I don't like to see him burrowing up that inside rail either. So you've got the favourite in 1, you've got the second favourite who's a deep closer, and they might get going in from 10. I mean, to me, if that's 2-1 and 9-2, and you've got a front runner in a bad box and a closer on a track that doesn't suit closers, I want to be looking at a bigger price.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan's Way's got some pace as well. I mean, you've got Citizen Bull's an interesting horse as well. Bob Baffert's horse. I liked his win at Santa Anita last time out. Proves he stays the trip. He's another horse with a chance here. It's not a 2-horse race by any manner of means, but I'm just not sure about East Avenue. I think he looked really good when he beat Ferocious last time out in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. But he's kind of got, I wouldn't say it was an easy lead because he went pretty quick fractions, but he's a horse that does need to be out in front, I think, East Avenue, and he might just get taken off the lead here. If as Michelle says, if Chancellor McPatrick sits 4th or 5th, perfect. I think he'll win. I think he'll win wherever he is, to be honest. I think he's that good. So I know he's going up in trip, obviously, the 2 turns, but he's an exciting horse. He's a swashbuckling horse. He seems to time it so well and get to the front at the right time. I think he'll win again from off the pace.
Okay. Simon, any angles?
I think the one at an each way price I like is Gaming. He looks the best of the Californians. Trying to make good my insults to the Californians in the previous race by tipping one here. Bob Baffert's horse there, Gaming. Won the Del Mar Futurity, which is a good trial for this. I think he'll do for me, but it looks an open juvenile, and you've deconstructed it pretty well.
Okay, Alex Wilker says if Chancellor McPatrick is anywhere near the pace, he's winning. Yeah, it's another one. I kind of hate those angles, though, don't you? Because you sit in there as the last one goes into the boxes, holding your breath. You almost want to close your eyes for the first furlong, open them up, and just hope that he's in a decent posse.
Yeah,
it could be a 9-4 or a 20-1 shot after a furlong. I
think East Avenue would need to be 3 lengths ahead of him with about a furlong and a half to go to beat him. Okay. I think he's got such a kick at the finish.
Fair enough. Right. I mean, strictly, we are moving on to Saturday's races on our end, in a sense, because the final race that we're going to be looking at on Friday's card is the Juvenile Turf, which goes off at 25 past midnight. And it is ding ding, round 4 of New Century versus Al Qudra. It's currently 2-1 to Al Qudra, but New Century got the most recent victory over at Woodbine, and maybe it's recency bias that puts New Century in as favourite here at 4-1. Al Qudra 5-1, or it could be that William Buick said, "I've had enough of Al Qudra, and I'm giving Amori City a chance because he's jumped ship and taken over this Son of Oasis Dream 7-1, Zulu Kingdom 7-1, the Waco Kid 8, Sir Henri Matisse 8-1, Saturno Carnival 11s, Mentee 11s, and bigger prices the rest here. Yeah, and this is absolutely fascinating for a variety of reasons, Michelle. One is that William Buick decision to give Amora City the angle here. I mean, visually, when I watched that Woodbine race last time out, it looked like New Century, got a little bit of luck because Dream On was waving all over the place and gave Al Qudra a bump or two. And I feel like if those two had a clean run again, Al Qudra might have come out on top once again. But has there been have you had any angles about why William Buick has chosen to ride the Godolphin second string in theory?
I didn't get to hear from him about why he did that, but we did talk to Charlie Appleby about the summer stakes, and a lot of handicappers here were thinking along the same lines as you, that Al Qudra had been a little bit hindered, and that he can move forward. And when we spoke to Charlie, he actually said that he didn't think it really bothered him that much, and he was honestly just the second best horse that day. That he ran a good race, but he didn't think that if it was a cleaner trip, it would have changed the result at all. So a lot of people, maybe thinking like, hey, on the form line, because of this, the trouble, you could move him up. But Charlie seemed less confident about that. So for me, I just ended up sticking New Century on top. If I'm going to look at the local horses, I like the Chad Brown horse, Zulu Kingdom, with Flavien Prat aboard. He's been undefeated in 3 starts. He handled the stretch out beautifully. And he's not winning by a lot, but he's winning by a determined amount. Like, he looks like a horse that wants to win. So if you're duking it out to the wire, I feel like he is going to exert that extra little bit to get his neck down, especially with Pratt taking over here. He rode him before, but Pratt is just so good, especially on this track.
Okay. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf then. Again, I think Charlie Appleby's wrong personally, but that's that's the thing, though, isn't it? Trainers, jockeys, punters, everyone's going to have their own angles when you watch a race back. It's interesting because I thought these two, on my speed figures early on in the season, I had them marked down when they won their novices. I was thinking, crikey, these are good horses.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting them to face each other repeatedly and turn up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, admittedly. And you've also got, of course, the Waco Kid, who I think was probably favoured by a great ride last time out. And then also Henri Matisse, because we were talking about that National Stakes form. Yeah. Comfortably beaten in bad ground in France next time out.
I'd ignore that run in Longchamp. He hated the ground.
He was never comfortable, was he?
He's going to love the faster ground, I think, for sure. He's interesting, Henri Matisse, for me. I think if he goes out to 8, 9 to 1, that sort of price, he's becoming a backable price now. You talk about Ryan Moore's brilliance. He's going to have to be from stall 13, isn't he? He's got a horrible pitch out there. But look, Aiden and Ryle have won this race, 6 times, including the last couple of renewals. They won the first run at Del Mar back in 2017. So, I've got to have him on my short list. But I want to play a Charlie Appleby horse as well, because I think he's got such a good record with the juveniles out there on the turf. And I'm going to go Al Qudra, actually. I know that obviously Williams chosen Amori City, but I was listening to James Doyle speaking about Al Qudra. He says, look, he looks a straightforward ride. We know about the clash with the Andrew Balding horse, New Century. I thought New Century got a brilliant ride from Machine in Canada. I thought he outrode Buick a bit there, to be honest. I think
it was a mixture.
Cold a bit about a furlong out when that move he made, and he sort of just had him where he wanted him.
He literally said, I can see you being sandwiched here, and I'm going to take the widest front. Exactly. He said, look, you're gonna have to bash me out of the way if you want to take this race. And he did. Just a word on Amori City though, because again, it's that National Stakes form, but I don't know. Again, he looked good at Nottingham. I thought the Goodwood race fell apart a little bit. I thought they went a mad gallop, and he kind of got the dream run through. There's real mixed form lines form kind of pointers there. Cool Hoof Luke makes it look very good. Everything else makes it look questionable. I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of it.
Yeah, I watched him. I saw him close up at Newmarket when he ran against Whistle Jacket, and I thought he looked a good horse there, but I wouldn't have been rushing to back him for the Breeders' Cup on the back of that run. He has, as you say, won since then at Goodwood, but I'm just not convinced. I just think Al Qudra is a little bit more streetwise. I think he's more adaptable to these sort of races in America. He's proven he can handle running already at Woodbine. So I don't know. I think Al Qudra is the better of the Appleby two. I could be wrong, but that's just my own gut feeling.
Okay, lovely stuff. Simon, any thoughts? Plenty of European interest here.
Oh yeah, listen, I don't think there's a huge amount between most of the front sort of 8 in the betting, really. I mean, the Henri Matisse, I think you made the case. Ed O'Brien's record here is fantastic, and throw out that last run, and he'd be almost a form horse in the race, and he's at 8 to 1. Hugo Palmer, we sponsor Hugo Palmer with Coral. He's got 2 in the race. Seagulls 11, owned by the Brighton footballers, and James Milner heading that syndicate. He's got an interesting chance, but the Waco Kid, I think, is the better of his two. I think he's going to love the ground, love the trip. Drawn nice enough with Tom Marquand on board. I think he's going to go really well. He's a decent price at 8 to 1. And also, we should just quickly shout out Charlie Appleby's record currently at Breeders' Cups. I think it's 10 winners from 20 runners. He can't surely sustain that 50% strike rate, but he's got 2 in this race and plenty more chances through the meeting. So definitely, while all eyes are on Aidan O'Brien and City of Troy, Charlie Appleby's probably the leading trainer in recent form when it comes to European challenges.
So what you're suggesting is that me saying he's wrong is probably a bad idea.
Yeah, possibly.
Fair enough. Before we move on to Saturday, best bets or best hopes or best angles on the Friday races we just covered?
Chancellor McPatrick. If he sits midfield, he'll win. If he sits towards the back, I think he'll win.
I can see sometimes when you see a horse win a race and it just lodges in your brain.
Yeah,
he's
when he
in
won
there,
last
isn't
time out, I got very excited because I love these sort of closers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not ideal for the dirt at Del Mar being the tight track it is, but he's the sort of horse that gets you excited. You know, if you backed him, you're thinking, oh, I'm beat here. Then all of a sudden, he's got this gear change.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he'll run them down. I think he'll get. I don't think he'll win by 5. It might win by sort of a head or a neck, but it's going to be exciting.
Okay, Michelle.
Immersive for me. I'm really looking forward to seeing her run. Love the connections there. They know what they're doing, and she's been uber impressive.
Okay, Simon.
In terms of just picking a horse I will win on the first night, I think Lake Victoria will win the Juvenile Fillies Turf.
Okay, and I'm hoping that Asterius gets a dream run through in the Juvenile Turf then. Like I said, I think that form's good, and James Doyle being running out of his skin all season. Okay, moving on to Saturday then. Now, we haven't got Michelle for too much longer, so let's try and get your angles on as many of these as possible, Michelle, before we let you go. The Filly and Mare sprint here. Ways and Means 5-2, Society 3-1, Vava 5-1, Zeetlos 8-1 with Scylla, and 12-1 bar those. Michelle, any thoughts in this?
I like Society in here. I think for a sprint race, it's a little light on the speed factor. There's nothing that wants to go particularly gung-ho. So Society, to me, could be a possible gate-to-wire theft in this race. She's been a very consistent filly, and she loves 7 furlongs. I think that's the key. We have to remember when we write the Filly and Mare sprint at 7 is a specialist distance, right? So I'm looking for a horse that loves 7, and she is the one. So for me, I'm going to put a Society, and I'm going to put her on top of Scylla and Ways and Means. Ways and Means, the very good filly. She brings in 3 straight races that were wins, but she is a 3-year-old facing older, and there are some legitimate older horses in here. And Scylla, we've kind of seen her shipping around and doing well. I think that this 7 furlong distance hits her square between the eyes. She beat Vava. She finished behind Society in the Ballerina, and she looks like she's been training super well. Mike Smith going to get on, obviously. He knows the track here very well. So it's a strictly on top Society with a couple of fillies underneath for me in there.
Okay, lovely stuff. Yeah, I love it. There we go. I love boxing them up in exotics. This is I mean, I enjoy doing it at Sutherland Wolverhampton, but it is special in the Breeders' Cup a little bit more. Do you or Simon have any particular opinions on this, or should we move on to the Breeders' Cup?
Ways and Means, I think she's worth a mention. I mean, Michelle mentioned her there, but she had a really bad injury off the spinaway. I think she chipped her ankle, and she's come back. 3 straight wins by aggregate nearly 15 lengths. She's won over 7 as well. I know that Society's a 7 specialist, but she's won over 6, 7 and a mile. So I think she's just very good, and I'm not worried about the outside draw. So I did like her for Chad Brown in that race.
Okay. And Simon, anything before we rattle on?
I'll be cheering on Frost at Dawn for William Knight. Great to see him out here with the Breeders' Cup runner, and I'll probably end up having a few quid each way, just in case she wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you were saying it. Speaking of Chelmsford again. I remember this is the thing. You never know where the horse is going to end up. I remember her dotting up at Chelmsford last season and thinking, "Crikey, where did that come from?" And there was a lot of money for her. And like I said, she's been to Maidan. She's come back here and she's going up for a big price run under Frankie Dettori. It'd be a very Frankie Dettori win, wouldn't it, to boot home an unexpected European raider. Okay, the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint then comes up after this. One of the shortest price horses of the weekend is Coburn at 13-8, Bradsell 130, Believing 8-1, Notorious 10-1, Big Evs 10-1, Star of Mystery 10-1, AG Bullet 12-1, 20-1, and bigger the rest. And like I said, a fairly short price favourite here in the shape of Coburn at 13-8. Since rattling onto the turf, Coburn has been ruling the roost, shall we say? Michelle, for this, plenty of European challenge in here. This horse absolutely battered one of our best sprinters in the shape of Cardem last time out. Is that why Coburn's so short? I mean, he just keeps doing it. He hasn't been seen for 56 days. What do you make of him?
Yeah, I mean, the Americans think that he is the closest thing we have to a lock, I feel like, in the Breeders' Cup. He has just been so consistent. You take a look, he has run well at Churchill Downs, Saratoga, Kentucky Downs, which is a hard track, Lone Star, Oaklawn. I mean, he has taken his game from track to track to track, and he is just wicked fast. So everybody seems to love Coburn in here. I like him, but I just think the price is going to be low, and there should be a lot of speed subscribed in here. So he's not going to be able to just rattle away on his own. Although he is very, very fast, this 5 at Del Mar is a quick 5. I have to say, I hate the draw, but I love Big Evs in here. We saw him be victorious last year in the juvenile sprint. And I'll tell you what sold me, even though I was going to chuck him and Brad Sell basically because they were on the outside here. He worked the other day here at the racetrack on the grass. He took that turn so fast. He was already going fast into the turn. He rocketed through that turn so quick and came pouring it on down the lane. I thought that's how you win races, right? It's not by waiting till you turn for home. It is by taking that turn as fast as you can, and not every horse can do it. A lot of horses have to steady going into the turn. He got onto that lead and was absolutely gone. So I talked myself back onto Big Evs, so Big Evs is going to be my horse in the turf sprint.
Oh, love it.
He is going to have to be very, very, very fast from box 11 early on, though, isn't he, Michelle?
Oh, he's going to have to be flying out there to get himself good position. But I will say this, while I normally don't want horses to be wide by any means, if he ends up being a little bit wide on the turn, a lot of those horses might fall back because they can't go as fast as him, and he can make up ground on that turn and come off with really great momentum while everyone else is just starting to get going.
Okay. The Big Evs is a 10-1 shot. Again, a horse we know plenty about. But yeah, fascinating lineup here. Obviously, Brad Sell back with a bang after injury. He's even wider in box 12. Completely the opposite. Tong Time Blinkers on Believing. She's been running in all the top sprints this year, and Tuck's in box 1. And then, I mean, Star of Mystery, who's an unexposed 3-year-old, another Charlie Appleby Globetrotter, and one of my, again, you not necessarily for the Chance of McPatrick level of kind of glint in your eye, but I've always had a soft spot for Starlust, and I think he's too big on his form with Brad Sell and his form with Big Evs. On his very best, he's only a length and a half just behind them, and he's got a lovely box in 4.
Yeah, I had it as a possible each way in this race. 25-1, that sort of price.
Yeah.
I mean, Ross Brierley, he's won an Arc. Why can't he win a Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint as well? He's had that sort of season, hasn't he? And Rafe Beckett, as you say, I wouldn't put you off a couple of quid each way on him. Brad Sell's an amazing horse, though, isn't he? I mean, I watched him with the Yabba. He was so quickly out the stalls that day. If you watch him come out the gates, if he does that, he's got a big chance on Saturday night. And Believing is probably sick of the sight of Brad Sell, because Brad Sell always beats Believing. And I think it'll probably be even though Believing's got probably a better draw, I think, on the inside, and has got Ryan Moore, I think Brad Sell will probably beat Believing for about the 40th time this season.
That is true. However, at York, Brad Sell was in 3 and Believing in 13. Again, low draw at York, very positive. At the Curragh, I always like to see him high draw near side, and Brad Sell was 14, Believing in 1. Finally, the gods have given Believing a bit of a squeak.
Yeah, for the first time he's got the draw on his side, isn't it? But I don't know, Brad Sell just seems to have a number, doesn't she? Doesn't he completely? I mean, Coburn, I just don't know. He's I've watched him a few times. He's got early pace, and he's got a bit of a late kick as well. So he's kind of got it all really for a sprinter. And as you say, he won at Kentucky Downs. I don't think Kentucky Downs winners have a great record going to Breeders' Cup races, however. But there's obviously an exception to every rule, isn't there? But he's been almost faultless this year, isn't he? In those 3 wins, Churchill Downs, Saratoga, he beat Arzak easily, who's a solid sort of sprinter in America in the Jaipur, and then that win at Kentucky Downs. I mean, people will be just siding with Cogburn, won't they? They'll see that, Irad Ortiz on board, unbeaten this year. It's going to tick a lot of boxes for punters, particularly in America. Brad Sell, I'd love to see Brad Sell win for Archie Watson, and for Holly as well, because she gets on so well with him.
Yeah.
And he is he is the best sprinter in Europe. I think. I know he got beat by Makarova in the Abbey, but I think that was maybe the bit of the ground.
Well, also it's the Abbey, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's also
that sort of race.
It is that sort of race. It's almost the sprint. It's the
you get turn-ups, don't you?
it just feels like a raffle sometimes. Yeah. It's like get all the best sprinters, pop them in a race, and see who pops out in the best position.
We've had some big prize winners that race, haven't we? But I think Brad Sell is the best sprinter in Europe. Can he prove it against the best sprinter in America, Cogburn? It's going to be a fascinating clash.
Yeah, like I said, I do think that the draw is going to be big here, Simon.
It is. I think if you look down the field at sort of the horse who like to go from the front, to the Coburn, Big Evs, Bradsell, all positioned quite close to each other. So I think there will be some real pace on the outside, particularly. It means believing. I think it's got a great draw. I think if you keep believing, if you're a believing fan, I think she could get a nice position on the inside, and the lead will, the front runners will come round her, but she could be perfectly positioned, to sort of kick off the bend if she gets the breaks. She'll have a good chance. But listen, I think Michelle's confidence in Big Evs. Obviously, we followed him closely last year. It was a Hollywood ending to that story with Mick Appleby training his first Group 1 winner with Big Evs. Not been quite so brilliant this season, but still been good. The Nunthorpe chucked that out, doesn't like York. And I think, the confidence is high. I mean, Michelle's talked about the gallop, spoke to Mick Appleby this morning. This is a horse who suits this sort of race. 5 furlongs, speed, fast ground, that bend, which we now see as an asset, not a threat. And I think he's going to come out very quick. And even if he's just 3 wide with the leaders, I think he's got a really good each way chance. Whether he can win, I don't know, but I think he's a good at the prices. I'd much prefer to take him at 10-1 than Coburn at 13-8.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be a bit of a draw advocate here. I'm hoping that with a good journey, you don't stop believing.
Oh,
love it.
But also Starlust as well from Forago. I think those two will get a nice toe into it here for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Now, loads of other cracking races on Saturday, of course. But Michelle, you've got 25,000 other places to be because, of course, it is a big weekend for you. So let's have a look at the Breeders' Cup Classic. Get your thoughts on this price of City of Troy, and then your best bet on the other races, and we'll let you crack on. But City of Troy 7-4 here, Fierceness 130, Forever Young 11-2, and 10-1 bar those. Again, going over to try and break the hearts of the Americans, but 7-4. I mean, I'd love to see it. I wouldn't love to back it.
I mean, I feel the same. I know a lot of people are going to be playing him, but it's like I don't want to play him at that price. He's never even done anything more than an easy canter on the dirt. And I will say, even though he has turf reaction, he looked very comfortable cantering over the dirt, right? Some of the European horses get on the dirt and they can't even stand up. He kept his feet under him really lovely. When he cantered down the lane, he does have a little bit higher knee action, and you can really see how turfy he is when you watch back his races. But he didn't look uncomfortable. I don't think that not liking dirt is going to be the biggest excuse for him. Maybe the kickback might be from where he's drawn. But at the price, I just think he's really hard to back. For Fierceness, this is a horse that I actually spoke with Mike Rapoli, and he told me that even though he was a juvenile champion of last year, he really needed time to mature, and he seems to be more of a late blooming 3-year-old, which is counterintuitive from what we've seen from him. But then if you only take into account kind of his 3-year-old season, you could really see that from a physical standpoint. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. He looks like a completely different horse mentally now when he's training. Even he's a lot more focused than he used to be. So either his light bulb turned on or Pletcher fixed something in his brain, because he does look like a more ferocious horse as he comes into the Classic here. Mike Rapoli's won with an older horse. Taking on the Classic with a 3-year-old is a really challenging test. But like I mentioned before, the field here isn't full of stellar older horses with a lot of proven form. So this could be a year to get lucky. I really like Forever Young in here for the Japanese contingent. He has just also gotten a lot better. He had a little bit of quirkiness going on when we saw him in Saudi. He didn't want to switch leads early on in his races. And since he's been here, he still didn't switch leads in his work until later, but it just didn't slow him down at all. He still motors through. He went to the gate and he schooled today. I saw him working inside a stablemate the other day because he is drawn on the rail. So they've put him inside horses. He didn't try and lug out at all. He's looked really fantastic. He's putting everything together. I talked to Yoshida Yahagi this morning, and he said he was disappointed that he only has one horse, so he can only win one race this year.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. City of Troy then 7-4, Fierceness 130 and 11-2 bar there. Just a quick word on the the Kentucky Derby this year. Obviously, you've got the Fierceness, you've got Forever Young. What are we kind of throwing the form out a little bit from Kentucky?
I don't know if we're throwing the form out, but it's been hard to kind of judge just because we had a really wild Triple Crown season, right? So Mystic Dan held on over Sierra Leone and Forever Young, and then he ran second in the Preakness, but he didn't win. And all of a sudden, this Mile horse steps up and he wins. And then, of course, Mystic Dan goes to the sideline, so we don't get to see him kind of maturing at all, so we just don't know how good his form line is. And then we didn't see Seize the Gray kind of do what we wanted him to do. I mean, He did win his last out, but in between, we just weren't seeing from him what we wanted. And then Dornoch stepped up, but Dornoch doesn't show up here. So, we had all of these Triple Crown races that we didn't get to see them pitted against each other again and again. And because of that, it's been really hard to judge where everybody stands in that 3-year-old window. I mean, the most talked about horse going in was Sierra Leone, and he's almost the forgotten horse now.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what when I see a race like that, where like you said, then when they all meet again, someone else pops up and has a go. It's in the back of my mind, I kind of think, okay, maybe this generation.
It's just an average group. That's what you think, right? It's just an average group of horses, and there's no clear-cut standout. But that's kind of what our classic division is this year. We lost a lot of good horses by the wayside. Obviously, White Abario is not back from last year. We lost Kings Barnes, who had been a really impressive winner late in the summer in the older horse division and would have been a speed contestant in here. And now we have just one kind of speed horse in Arthur's Ride. So the picture is a little on the muddy side, making it a really hard race to have a strong conviction in my opinion.
Okay, lovely stuff. And opinions on the classic, Enzo?
I can't have City of Troy at the price. I'm not sure. I'd love to see him win.
Yeah.
If you talk to me about a bet in the race, 6-4, 7-4, just doesn't appeal. I think he's going to find it hard to go with fierceness early on. I know he led at York, didn't he? But nobody wanted to take him on at York in that international stakes. He very much was able to sort of do his own thing. Yeah. Calandigan, who finished second, was a massive hold-up horse that day. He's not going to have it that easy on the front end. And I imagine they want to be fairly handy with him. I think fierceness has, apart from the bad record of juvenile winners of the previous year going into the classic, doesn't really happen that double, does it? So, look, I think he is the best 3-year-old now. Michelle mentioned some of those that are not around sadly anymore, but I think his form in the Jim Dandy was good. I like the way he battled in the Travels as well when he beat Torpedo Anna. I think he's tough. John Velasquez will know what to do. Big race jockey. I'm with fierceness. Forever Young, I think, is a big player too. Bit unlucky in the Kentucky Derby, perhaps. I've had enough of Sierra Leone. I've backed him and followed him too many times and tipped him up, and he's just no more. I've said no more Sierra Leone selections.
Right, so I'm back in it. That always, every time anyone comes on,
I've jumped off the bandwagon.
Exactly.
That's the time to play him when everyone thinks that way, though. Right now, we're going to get a great price on him.
He's going to win.
And I asked Brad, has he been frustrating? And he said, you know what? Mentally, he's really starting to come around. He's been training really well. So
don't tell me that. I'll have to back him now.
Everyone that burned all of their pennies on Sierra Leone, don't back him. He ends up a huge price and wins.
Yeah, but this is the problem now. But then you end up if I want to back him if you don't back him. If you've got off him, that's the time to back him. But if you then go back on him, I can't back him. So I don't want to get into a pickle. Just quickly there, Michelle, before you do have to go. But the market is dominated by 3-year-olds, and traditionally, this ain't necessarily a race to be going into the to be piling into 3-year-olds. What about Highland Falls, who looked pretty impressive last time out?
Yeah, Highland Falls is really bred to be a Breeders' Cup champion, right? He's by a Breeders' Cup winner. He's out of a Breeders' Cup winner. So I really love what they have done with him and kind of babying him along, right? He was a horse that they got a little aggressive with early on the year and put him in the stand in a handicap. That was his first try against Stakes Company, and he wasn't able to win that day. But subsequently, he has done nothing wrong. And Brad Cox has really just kind of taken his time to try to develop this horse. I think developing him has been the right move. There's some horses that are just precocious, and there's some that are not. And Highland falls into that latter category, and obviously winning the Jockey Club Gold Cup was just evidence of that. Now, all of that being said, I don't necessarily know if the Jockey Club Gold Cup was my favorite race, and I can't give you like a real reason why, but when I watched it, I was like, So Highland Falls, I feel like if he won, you would just kind of say, he wouldn't be a crazy horse, but he also wouldn't be at the top of a lot of tickets, I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough. But again, I do in the back of my mind you do get those classics where you're like, well, okay, fair enough. They won. Okay, before we let Michelle go, Simon?
Listen, I must admit, my heart's probably ruined my head here. I've followed the Breeders' Cup for many years, always hoping that one of these days we'll have a European winner of the Classic on dirt. I think Kong was the last or the only one, 93. I wasn't there then. And I believe City of Troy could do it. I think there are lots of reasons why you could argue he can't, but he has got dirt breedings on the sire side. He's a class act. He's got a run style that would suit, long stride, a galloper, relentless. Really, he's not often in this season particularly not been super impressive. Just destroyed the opposition just through toughness and class. And I think if he can get a good position from that stall, and I think he could do, get a lot of the pace on the outside and sits and handles the track. I think he's going to run a big race. But so I wouldn't beat this. It's not one I'm recommending as a bet at 7-4. But if he drifts to sort of 7-2, 4-1, in the market, which you could do if the American totes around that price, I think I'll be backing him. But I'll certainly be cheering him on. And that, that'll be my main aim for this race, is to see if finally we can conquer racing's Everest, the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Absolutely, and he'd be satisfying at a very reasonable hour as well, wouldn't it? Over here, at least 9:41. No staying up till till approaching midnight. Enzo can finish watching Strictly Come Dancing and then watch the Breeders' Cup Classic. I know your Saturday night, mate. I know it. But anyway, before we let you go, Michelle, your best bet on Saturday, please.
Ooh, a best bet. That is really hard. I mean, I think that my most likely winner is probably Notable Speech. It's not very creative by any means, but I do feel like if I'm just going to go with one horse, I do have a price horse to give you, though, in a dirt race, if I can hand you that.
Oh, please do.
And
Yeah.
That is going to be Full Serrano in the dirt mile. Comes in here for trainer John Sadler. He's actually a South American horse. He came up here and won an allowance race, going a mile, first time stateside. He looked brilliant doing it. He trained phenomenally going into the Pacific Classic, and he ended up an unlucky second after setting a blazingly fast tempo, going 1.25 miles. Unfortunately, he got sick after that, so he missed some training, so they didn't get the California Crown into him like they wanted to. So because of that, Sadler opts to back him up into the dirt mile instead of go on to the Classic. But he has been training so good. This horse just exudes class. He moves like a cat. He works, when you watch him work, he's working 58 and change, which is blazingly fast in what looks like a canter. If I showed him to you, you're like, oh, he's cantering. Cannot believe he covers the ground that he does. He throws his legs out at the apex of his stride, and he just looks fantastic. He's 20 or 30 to 1 on the morning line. I know that race is insanely deep, but I would be shocked if that horse did not run the top 2 or 3.
Okay, lovely stuff. What price are we, Simon? Are we on Full Serrano?
16-1, Full Serrano with Coral.
Okay, great. Right, Michelle, absolute pleasure. Thank you ever so much. And
Thank you guys so much.
I hope you have a fantastic weekend. There we go. Michelle,
Thank you. I hope so too. I hope everybody makes a ton of money, and best of luck for the Breeders' Cup.
Absolutely. We will.
Thanks,
We'll
Michelle.
take the ton of money. Yeah, we'll definitely take. We'll go for that.
Thanks, guys.
Entertaining finishes, European winners, but a ton of money would be good as well. Before we dig into the rest of the Saturday cards, do you have a? Actually, I don't know how to do this now because we've got Michelle's nap. Because you've got. I don't want to ask everyone's nap before we've actually got into the races to do it. So let's wind
races
back a bit, I think,
Yeah, okay.
and then start again.
What are we up to?
We're up to the
Distaff?
Breeders' Cup Distaff in
Yeah.
theory. Torpedo Anna 8-13, Awesome Result 9-2, Raging Sea 5-1, Sugarfish 14s with Candid, and then 33-1 and Be the Rest. An incredibly top-heavy market here with Torpedo Anna. And again, I ain't an American dirt specialist. However, backing a short price 3-year-old in this race has been pretty much a quick road to the poorhouse. Why is Torpedo Anna such a short price?
She's as good as most of the boys in theory. I mean, she got beaten ahead by Fierceness in the Travers. Fierceness is the shortest priced American second favourite for the Classic. In theory, what price would she be in the Classic? She wouldn't be huge. Simon will be able to tell us, of course. But look, she wouldn't be out of the Classic by any manner of means. So you'd have to respect her in this easier race. Again, the big question here, Ross, is what do we make of the Japanese runner? Awesome result. 7 out of 7 in her home country. Turning up here on the dirt against Torpedo Anna. But look, all reports from Japan say how good this horse is. She was so impressive last time out when she ran at the end of August over a mile and 2. But again, this is going to be a completely different test, isn't it? Torpedo Anna, the likeliest winner, but don't want to rush to the counter. 8-13. Probably be a race I'll just be watching, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Simon?
Yeah, it's like Enzo's called it right. I mean, she just looks like ticks all the boxes. I think Raging Sea is probably the sort of logical place. She's a tough filly, a 4-year-old, trained by Chad Brown, won the Beldame. Last couple of them have been narrow, but she's tough. And then we just don't know about Awesome Results. So you're backing Awesome Results. You're taking a bit of a flyer, but there are plenty of people here, who are almost saying they're going to back almost the Japanese blind. They're so confident that they'll run well there'll be some big prices popping up, and she's certainly one of the leading contenders.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, that's the Breeders' Cup Distaff then. Rattling on to the Breeders' Cup Turf, 1.5 miles, 13 of them lining up, and this is This is a race, isn't it? Rebels Romance 11-4, Emily Upjohn 7-2, JRB 9-2, Luxembourg 6-1, Farbridge 9-1, Wingspan 10s with Shariar at 16-1, and bigger the rest. Always one of the most fascinating races at the Breeders' Cup. Of course, pretty much a European benefit, as you would expect. We do have absolutely top class turf form. Although, admittedly, again, when Rebels Romance again. All-weather speed figures a few years ago. I thought one of the best I've ever got at Kempton. 4 lengths ahead of Anmart. Baybridge back in 4th. Who knew that race would unfold the way it did? Rebels Romance bidding to win this race for the second time, of course. I took it in 2022. Been, quite frankly, where hasn't Rebels Romance been over the past few years? But Emily Upjohn, who's been in cracking form, despite not getting ahead in front in decent races, and has Frankie Dettori back in the saddle. And I think me and Simon are going to go loggerheads in a difference of opinion about JRB, but I do like him a lot, and I'm fascinated to see how he will go for connections who won this with Dangerous Midge back in the day, which was of course by Frankie Dettori. Jocked off Martin Dwyer. I remember saying this to Martin. I like that Dangerous Midge. I backed him a few times. He said, "Yeah, don't talk to me about it." I'm still sore about it. Luxembourg is 6-1. Farbridge is 9-1. 10-1. Bar those. This is it is always a great race, and you've got, like I said, previous winners. You've got the Gosden Dettori Emily Upjohn factor. You've got a really impressive 3-year-old who's got form tied in with a lot of the best 3-year-olds this year. You've got the enigma that is Luxembourg, and you've got loads of other horses as well.
You have, yeah. I mean, as you say, Europeans normally win this race. I think Bricks and Mortar was the one exception to the rule, wasn't he? 2019 for Chad Brown, bucked the trend by winning for America, but usually this race goes to export. Rebels Romance, I don't think any horse has ever regained the Breeders' Cup turf. There's been back-to-back winners, High Chaparral, Conduit as well. I think went back-to-back in this, but I don't think any horse has ever come back and won it again, if you know what I mean, after not winning it the previous year.
I can't imagine many would
have tried, I know.
Yeah.
It's a small pot, I think, that have tried. Emily Upjohn is interesting because I think she's a difficult ride. I think Kieran Schumacher struggled on her once or twice this season, to be fair. I don't think she's an easy ride at all. She's quite a big mare, isn't she? But Frankie back on her could be a good thing. I like JRB as well. I think that economics form in France is good. Yeah. I like the way this horse battles. I love his attitude. Brian Mean, as you say, knows how to win this race, and he's a better horse than Dangerous Midge, I think, JRB.
I agree.
So,
he's a better horse, but Dangerous Midge was proven over the trip. I guess that's the only
But I think I like the ground. I think he'll be fine. I think JRB is a big player. Good draw as well in 5. Rebels Romance, I just don't think... I think I called him when he won one of those Kempton races you talked about. I think he won the one in 2023 when he won there. He was like 4-5, and he won there. What a good bet he was at 4-5 that night. Yeah. But I'm just not sure he is as good as he was a couple of years ago at the age of 6. So, yeah, I'm at the 3-year-old as well, JRB.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, again, there is a step and a question mark in theory. However, the damn side, I mean, his dam won Melissa race over 1.5 miles. His two relatives have both won over 1.5 miles or even 2 miles in the shape of Malakana, who's a strong stayer for Ian Williams. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd be interested to see how Sean Levy rides JLB as well, because he seems fairly tactically versatile. I thought it was a cracking ride at Royal Ascot. Obviously, you know, I think took advantage of a small field at Longchamp last time out. But even that, I don't know, 10 furlongs really battling on in soft ground. Does have to prove the trip, Simon, but I'm looking forward to seeing him. I mean, the biggest disappointment for me this year is I wanted to see him against City of Troy in the Eclipse, and we didn't get it because of the ground. So I can't wait to see him 1.5 miles on fast ground.
Look, I mean, to be honest, I think he can win. You know, there's no question. I mean, Dangerous Midge was a terrible Breeders' Cup turf that year. God, I hope Brian Min is not watching this, but he managed to win. And Red Rocks was a good horse. It wasn't a great horse. And I think the point really is that, you know, you don't have to be sort of a superstar to win the Breeders' Cup turf. You've got to be the right horse on the day. And I think that at least Del Mar on fast ground, if it's not 1.5 miles on soft ground at Ascot, is it? You know, so I think the fact he's got 10 furlongs forward probably means it's okay. It's just a slight concern because it still is 12 furlongs. And the other thing is actually when you look at the race, I think you made the cases quite well. You know, Rebels Romance is a really good horse. He's a globe trotter. He's won 9 of his 12 starts for 1.5 miles. He's won this race before. But, you know, is he top notch? You probably say, well, not really. Luxembourg's only won 2 races in 2 years from 11 starts. Emily Upjohn doesn't look as good as she was, and she hasn't won this year. So it's like, you know, and Shariar, who was placed last year, if he could run that race this year, I think that's probably will win in the race, but he hasn't looked as good this year either. So, you know what I mean? It's almost like JRB could well be the right horse, and he could. I wish he was 10-1 rather than 5-1. That's the only thing. So, I mean, I still think Rebels Room is like a solid bet. Given he's in good form, he's won it before. Charlie Appleby, can't really go wrong at the British Cup. And I thought Shariar was worth a punt based on, those Japanese mile and a half horses or turf horses are very good. He was placed last year. He ran a flat effort before last year's race, similar flat effort this time round. So I thought at the prices he looked a value play. But look, JRB can win. I think it's actually quite an open race.
Actually, to be fair, you look at Shariar, and again, fairly odd profile, but last year he was 5th at Maidan, ran to an RPR of 115. He then got beaten in the same race that he got beaten this year, but he got beaten 20 lengths and still finished 3rd to August Rodan, like you said, in a better renewal. This year was 2nd to Rebels Romance at Maidan, running £5 better, and was as you would expect for a mile and a half, also over 10 furlongs last time out, didn't have the pace and just plugged on. So you say he's not been good this year. He's actually been better.
You're making the case better. For the
well, because the thing is, I glanced at him and thought, that form last year was probably a bit, but I don't know. I just looked at it again.
I think he should have won the turf. He was unlucky against August Rodan. I think if you watch it back, you could argue he should have probably won the race. So I think he's a value play at 10s.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, he was, even in Maidan, he was miles clear of Emily Upjohn. Remember Upjohn 7-2, Shariar's 10-1. So, Start Flying the Ointment is Wingspan.
Yeah.
Not sure what to make of her. Obviously, she ran into Calpana last time out at Ascot. We've barely seen her, to be fair.
No. Fillies can win this race, as we've seen before.
Yeah.
Enable, Tarnawa as well for Dermot Ward in recent years. So it's not impossible for a filly to win it.
Found a few years ago as well.
Yeah, but I don't think she's quite in the class of those three, would it be fair to say? But look, in what looks like, I've got to say, it's a weak turf, isn't it, this year? I think we're kind of agreeing on that.
It's one of those races where it's you get some races where, like I said, the overall quality isn't as good, but it's fascinating because you've got, it's kind of a 5, 6, 7 horse, and anyone can win it kind of race, and it feels like that, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean that Calpana form looked good. Wingspan's run at Ascot. Is this race coming a bit quick on very different ground? I don't know, but look, she goes over the chance, doesn't she? And you couldn't rule out anything that even runs in the turf, really, could you? So, yeah, but I'm very much in the JRB camp. I think with you.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, he's just exciting. I think, regardless of whether he wins this, I'm looking forward to seeing what he could do next year. Obviously the classic comes up after this, but it is a shame that we won't. I want to see him. I want him to get better as a 4-year-old. I want to see City of Joy come back next year. Ideally, you want to see these horses come back.
No, this is his final run, isn't it? Sadly.
Yeah, it just is a shame because you think. Horses like this, you think, this is a cracking end to the season, but give them another winter and come back for another year next year, and we'd have some right fun. But that's the
doesn't always happen, sadly.
I mean, it happens more often that they retire before you want them to, doesn't it?
Yes.
Quite frankly. Okay, Breeders' Cup Turf then. Apology on the chat, by the way. They've got so many races to go through that I haven't had that much chance to shout out anyone at home too much. What have we got? Robert Ballard says that he's only bet one horse this weekend. Look at this, Robert. Perfect. Thank you for this segue. And that is Cinderella's Dream on Saturday. He's backed Cinderella's Dream at 7-2 to win the Fillies Mare Turf. Well, you're already sitting pretty because Cinderella's Dream is currently a 9-4 shot. Content is 9-2. Warlike Goddess 5-1. Soprano 9s with Mare and Full Count Felicia and 14s Bar.
Yeah, got to mention Ryan Moore does ride Content. There was talk about it earlier today. It's been confirmed. Obviously, Frankie was down to ride Content. Ryan was on the Ylang Ylang. Ylang Ylang got scratched yesterday. So I'm afraid Dettori's been jocked off. Is Ryan Moore the only person who could jock off Frankie Dettori? That's possible, isn't it?
I think it's probably fair. Yeah, it is. It is literally. Yeah, I think Frankie could go. All right, fine.
Yeah, and it is your boss that I'm riding for, so
yeah,
you can have it.
And I have sodded off to California to enjoy the sunshine.
And I have retired as well, but I'm still riding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But Content, look, Ryan was brilliant. I thought in the Yorkshire Oaks on her. I thought she should have won the Irish Oaks. I know Rafe Beckett's horse took her chance well, but one of those unlucky losers.
Yeah.
Still painful. Content at the Curragh, but look, I think she's got a chance. And again, it doesn't look. We've said this a couple of times. It doesn't look a strong Fillies and Mare Turf either. But Warlike Goddess is the kind of horse that sets the standard in America. She's been the leading turf American middle distance mare for a few years now. Yeah. She's probably not as good as she was at the age of 7. I thought she had every chance to win last time, and she didn't.
Is this her 4th visit to the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, she loves it. She's a regular. She'll probably be back next year as well. But look, she's a nice mare. She's got a lovely turn of foot. She She likes fast ground, but she has got form on softer ground as well. But she got beat by Farbridge last time out, and I'm just thinking, the Warlike Goddess of sort of 2021, 2022 would have slaughtered Farbridge in that race at Belmont with the big A, and she just didn't have it. So I'm just thinking she might not be as good as she was.
I mean, again, it's a fascinating race, Simon, because again, it's the true global nature of the Godolphin operation in particular. Because not only have you got Cinderella's Dream, who was kind of last seen being beaten in the Guineas, but bolted up at Lingfield and Thirsk, and then went globetrotting again. You've also got Beautiful Love at bigger prices, who again was beaten in a bad ground listed race at Newmarket last year, and then has gone to Maiden and Saratoga and Belmont as well. So it is, because we said at Royal Ascot, didn't we, in particular, or earlier in the summer, Sean Appleby's not necessarily having the best of seasons, but it is a 12-month, 365-day a year, every time zone, every country kind of operation, isn't it? And like I said, horses like Cinderella's Dream is 9-4, and I bet quite a lot of punters will go, sorry, Cinderella's who? And then have to kind of remind themselves of this horse.
I think that's right. They will. But I mean, her form is really strong. I mean, she's won 6 of her 7 starts. She's only beaten in the 1,000 Guineas when she finished 4th. I mean, I think and Charlie Appleby's got this outstanding Breeders' Cup record. So I think she's very solid. I think she does look better than Beautiful Love, who's been winning Grade 3s in America. So on ratings and form, you sort of feel she's got plenty more to do, and obviously she's priced to match that. Of the others, I thought it's hard to back horse. Like, I know you can make cases for a horse like Content. Is it Content or Content? Anyway, you know what I mean. But she's been well beaten in 2 starts. It's tough to back a horse to win a Breeders' Cup race off those kind of performances. And the one I really like is Full Camp Felicia. If you look at the run styles of all the horses in the race, she's the only front runner, the only leader, and she's going to get out from that stall 2 and get a nice position. She won the EP Taylor last time. She took, I think, 8 starts to break her maiden, but she's really matured into a strong staying finish. She won 6 of her last 10 starts, and I think she's going to go really well, for the Canadians. And I think Cinderella's Dream to me is the most logical bet, albeit I bet she's shorter on the American toe as well, though, the 94, just because of that Appleby factor. So those would be the two for me. We have got a special bet here, an In the Know special, 12-1 Godolphin to win both the Filly and Mare's Turf and the Mile. So they've obviously got Cinderella's Dream and Beautiful Love in this race. And in the Mile, of course, they've got Notable Speech. I think they've got a supporting act as well, haven't they? Can't quite remember. No, just Notable Speech. But anyway, so they've got a big chance in both races. So 12-1, Godolphin to do the double.
Okay. Quick word for what price Soprano in this, Simon?
9-1, I believe, is Soprano.
Oh yeah, sorry, is it? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm looking on. Yeah, you're right. I thought she was bigger, but she has been back. Yeah. Again, I mean, the box 12 initially looks bad, but this is a race where they can this and the turf, they can go pretty quick and then set it up for horses whipping round the bend. But every time I see this horse run, I think, she ran over 7. I thought she needs a mile. She runs over a mile. I think she needs 10. She ran over 9 last time out. Yeah. And every single time she finishes really strongly. She comes home relentlessly. She's been keeping good company over a mile.
I think her form behind Porter Fortune is very strong at Leopardstown. And of course, she stayed in America since the Keenan run, so she's acclimatised. So she hasn't had that sort of travelling over. She's been over there since, I think, about the 7th or 8th of October. So she might be a bit more settled in than some of the other European raiders. Big chance of running into a place, maybe.
Well, what price would Ylang Ylang would have been?
6s or 7s, I think.
Yeah,
top of my head.
And she was ahead of her. At
Brian factor, though, isn't it? I'd imagine.
Yeah.
No disrespect to George Bowie, but I mean, Brian horse is probably just going to go off that little bit shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I don't know. I love a horse who is consistently good back end of the races, and she
big
never
moment for Billy Loughnane as well, isn't it? To have a ride in a race like this, a teenager.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, Soprano is a 9-1 shot then. Other races then, we have got 3 more to have a gander at. We've got the Breeders' Cup Sprint here. Mulligan 4-1 with Federal Judge. Remake 6-1. Raging Torrent 7-1. Skelly is 8-1 and 9-1. Bar those here on the dirt. For the Breeders' Cup Sprints. So we're saying a bit early on, there's a lack of Wesley Ward. Nakatomi, I think.
Yeah, I like this one a bit. It's not a typical Wesley Ward horse, though, because it's more a closer, so it's not your sort of ping and go from the boxes horse.
That is true.
Nakatomi, you would be behind. Federal Judge beat him last time out when they met at Keeneland. Nakatomi didn't get a great ride, though, that day, got a little bit too far back, and you can't get too far back at Del Mar, as we know. So, but look, at the prices, look, I thought I think they're closely matched, these two, and Federal Judge is what? 4-1?
Yeah.
And Nakatomi's 10s. I don't think there's not much between them. I think Nakatomi's the value play.
Okay, nice. There we go. Simon?
Listen, I completely agree. If you look at this race, it's incredible. I think there is 6 confirmed sort of front runners or leaders, including Federal Judge, and that's the key. They're going to be blazing off the front. And Nakatomi, as you say, maybe should have finished much closer last time in the Phoenix, which has been the best recent trial for this race. So Federal Judge and Nakatomi came out of that race, and I think the race could set up really well for Nakatomi. So I think at the prices, he's 10 to 1. I was watching a couple of these, the sort of the daily racing form podcasts in this, and they were calling him out as the real value each way play. So I wouldn't be surprised if he sold much shorter on the American Totes. If anything, Nakatomi, I would look to take the prices now, because I think that what will happen is when the American prices get unveiled tomorrow and Saturday, the traders and all the bookmakers pretty much align quite quickly, because it's almost become a very accurate pure price, almost like an exchange price. So you will never see that disparity from fixed odds to the American Tote like we used to many years ago, where they would actually start potentially quite differently.
Okay, and 2021 at Del Mar, last time we were here, of course, Aloha West stayed on strongly inside final furlong, led final stride, and they went a blazing gallop in that as well. So, okay, could set up nicely for Nakatomi then. The Breeders' Cup Mile is next for us again. Michelle mentioned Notable Speech again. Plenty of horses that we are all very familiar with. Notable Speech 3-1, Porta Fortuna 7-2, Ramatuel 4-1, Carl Spackler 8-1, Diego Velasquez 9-1, 14-1 Johannes, and 16-1 Bar those. Again, Notable Speech again a fairly bizarre season in the end. Obviously, we talk about Rebels Romance dotting up at Kempton and then going globe-trotting. Notable Speech, like I said, this time last year, no one even knew this horse existed, pretty much. I'm sure Charlie Appleby did. But bombed out at Ascot, bombed out at Longchamp, looked fantastic at Newmarket and Goodwood in between. And to be fair, it's these kind of races, it's your... How many sort of, not absolutely 100% all-time milers have Charlie Appleby sent to races like this and won quite nicely?
I mean, he's won the last 3, hasn't he? Space Blues, who was, I always thought was a good 7 furlong horse, but obviously stayed the mile in America. Modern Games and Master of the Seas. I mean, they're very good milers.
But, I mean, Notable Speech so far, I would say, looks better than all.
He does, doesn't he? Of course, another one's come from the Kempton. I actually called him on his debut when he won first time out.
Yeah. I mean,
never thought I'd say we win the Guineas that day, because it was just like a normal novice race, but there we go.
I think if you'd have said he will win the Guineas one day, people would have... They might well have locked you up after that. I think that would have been a bold shout, I think. But I mean, what I like about him, though, he is fantastic. Obviously, he was good at Newmarket as well, but I like the way he rattled round the bend at Goodwood and then quickened up. In theory, rattling around here should be fine for him.
He should be fine. I just think Porta Fortuna, though, there's something about her. Yeah. She's got real star quality. I don't think she's had the credit she's deserved for a season that she's had. The Royal Ascot win was brilliant. The win of the Matron, I thought, was superb. She's just had a brilliant season, hasn't she? There's 3 Group 1s back to back. Takes a bit of doing here. She'll love the fast ground as well. Yeah,
and I say she should. In an alternate universe, she also won the Guineas, didn't she? Because I mean, it was a fantastic renewal. But again,
and she's got Breeders' Cup experience from last year when she was second.
I mean, she just doesn't put her foot wrong, does she? I
mean, Tom Marcon says she's a great filly to ride. You could put her anywhere in a race. She's got good cruising speed. She's got a turn of foot. She wants to win. She's got a real good attitude. Draw looks fine in 7. I'm amazed Ramatuel's the same price. I think she's just a better filly than Ramatuel, isn't she? Ramatuel's winning Paris, very soft ground. I think that might have been her crowning glory. I think Porta Fortuna will beat her again, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I think the 3-year-old colts are a bit better than the filly, so I think Notable Speech will probably beat both of them. But I don't know, Ramatuel's fascinating because, again, that in an alternate universe, she won the Guineas. Because
she went too early.
I mean, too early is one way of putting it, isn't it? 3 weeks too early, I think. But yeah, I mean, again, they met at Ascot. Again, there's a couple of scores to be settled with those two. Again, the slight fly in the ointment again here is Diego Velasquez, who again, you say he's a Leopardstown horse, but again, rattling around a left-handed bend and coming out strongly down the down the
Quite
straight.
a big horse, though, isn't he? I just don't know if Del Mar's going to suit him, personally.
Yeah, possibly. I was thinking kind of rattling off that tight bend at Leopardstown, left-handed and coming home strongly would suit him. And again, it's the Ryan Moore factor, isn't it?
Yeah, you can never rule him out. I think he's up against it a little bit though with the other three. Carl Spackler's probably the pick of the Americans. Beat More Than Looks. I think More Than Looks is one that's a silly. If you like your big outsiders, Ross, this horse is a silly price, 25-1. Now, probably should have beaten Carl Spackler last time. Was given too much to do that day by Jose Ortiz. Came from a long way back. More Than Looks has been second to Carl Spackler twice. Was sixth in this race last year, but only 2 lengths behind Master of the Seas. It was quite a strong renewal last year. I think More Than Looks, 25-1 is a bit of an insult. I think he's almost as good as Carl Spackler, who's what, 9s, 10s.
Well,
So I think I've got to have a couple of quid each way, or a couple of dollars each way. I think on More Than Looks. I'll try and find out where the best price is, whether it's on the tote in America or over here. But yeah, I think More Than Looks is interesting.
Yeah,
Big closer, by the way. So he'll be running. He might not win, but I think he'll run into third place certainly.
I'm starting to sense a theme here. You're not a front running fan, are you? You like a dramatic closer.
Dramatic, yeah, brilliant, isn't it? Breeders' Cup, so that's what it's all about, isn't it? Zenyatta was my favourite Breeders' Cup winner.
But also I imagine from a commentator's perspective as well, there's nothing better than a horse swooping past the
it's
field.
brilliant, isn't it?
And then you can really
build it up, can't you?
Yeah, you're right. Because otherwise, there's only so many ways you can say gate to wire or made all.
Yeah.
Or
they are the dullest races, aren't they? Where something just goes off in front. But the order doesn't change in the race at all.
Yeah,
it's probably the dullest types of races, aren't they? You want things happening in that final furlong.
Absolutely. Simon, Breeders' Cup Mile. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. More Than Looks. But again, watching a couple of these the previews out, but people calling that out maybe as a value play. So I wouldn't expect it to be much bigger in America. So it might be worth taking the prices now. Notable speech. There's no question. I mean, Charlie Evans got lots of nice chances. He's also got an amazing record. This is the one he's been really talking up in glowing terms. And of course, it'd be an extraordinary achievement to win the same race 4 times in a row with 4 different horses, which is what he's bidding to do here. And I think he's got a great chance of doing it. I think 3-1 is not an unreasonable price for a horse with his profile. It looks like he'll be really suited by this test with that record. A lot of the people here are very against Porta Fortuna, the sort of the horse players. They sort of question the quality of her form, even though she's been winning. But she does have that sort of that finishing kick and that toughness. I think she's got a solid chance. And Carl Spackler is the obvious one for the Americans. But I think for me, I think Notable Speech, very solid chance. And then Michelle, you napped it. I think he's my idea of the winner.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Porta Fortuna, I think everyone's questioned her form every single run since her debut, pretty much, and she keeps doing it. So, okay, one more race then before we wrap it up with best bets and angles. It is the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. The problem is that you're going to have to beat Michelle's case for Full Serrano here, who's a 16-1 shot. But domestic product is 7-2. Muth is 5-1 with Saudi Crown. Seize the Grey 6-1. Skippy Longstocking 7s. Mufasa 8-1. Post Time 12s. Full Serrano 16-1. Again, an excellent case made for Full Serrano, but an each way price dropping back in trip by Michelle. What about you, Enzo? Anything in here for you?
If you're behind going to this race, I think you're in a bit of trouble, aren't you? Because it looks one of the hardest races of the 2 days, the Dirt Mile. I wonder if our old friend Bob Baffert might have a winner here though with Muth. I know he bombed out a bit last time out, but he's a sort of horse that you could see travelling strongly out in 10. Saudi Crown, I think, ran last year in the Classic and was beaten in it, but it's got some good form. Won at Ellis Park last time out. Was 10th of the Classic one, White at Barrio last year. Saudi Crown. He's a very good dirt horse, but I've got a feeling that Bob Baffert's not going to go home without a winner, and he might have to wait until the last race. It might be Muth, but as I say, this is not a race I had a strong opinion on. Probably the most lukewarm thoughts from me on the whole 2 days this race.
Will you be in bed when this runs?
No, I'll still be watching.
Fair enough. Simon.
I've actually got a Full Serrano. I'm definitely going to have a closer look after Michelle Yu's case for that. But there's a horse here called Post Time, trained by Brittany Russell. Her husband Sheldon Russell rides Post Time. And this horse is, I think, it's the only closure in the field. There are 14 runners this race. 10 of them are front runners. There's going to be an absolute sort of pace meltdown here, assuming they don't all go steady. But I think there'll be loads of pace on. This horse has never been out of the first 3. This colt, and ran okay in the Whitney behind Arthur's Ride and Croupy. So I think Post Time for me at a big price, hacked up last time in a wheat race, and it's decent price, good each way price. Post Time, the only close of the field, will swoop late. just the way Enzo likes it, and take the prize.
Okay, great, great stuff. Thank you very much. Right, that's the entire 2-day Del Mar cards covered in rapid fast time. Only an hour and a half. I mean, to be fair, there's 28 other races I think we could talk about. Is there I mean, it's a whole weekend.
It starts on Thursday.
Yeah.
There's a couple of grade 3s on Thursday. Even the shoulder races are really good on Friday as well. There's a couple of really good juvenile races.
Have we still got the marathon?
I think it was on Saturday. Yeah, there is. It's
it?
not obviously the race. Wasn't it in the Breeders' Cup a couple of times? It crept in, didn't it?
It did. Yeah. I can't remember what the. I'm sure I backed a Rafe Beckett winner or something at big prices back in the day. It
was great. I used to like the marathon, but I don't think it quite had that sort of same feel that the Americans had for it. They didn't have the love for the marathon like we do. No, in fact, it is no more. In fact, it's been replaced.
Oh right, okay.
There we go. They've got the Goldacova Stakes instead now on that part of the card, which is a grade 3.
Yeah,
named after the brilliant.
I was going to say she deserves all the
race named after her, didn't she?
All the races named after her she can get. Okay, naps coming up after this.
We're into the final bend of the Coral Fan Derby, where racing lovers of the UK are in a spectacular contest. And watch this, he's shaking his phone like it's a pocket-sized maraca. They're all getting rewards now. He's shaking it, she's shaking it, they're all shaking it. Play the free Coral Reward Shaker to win guaranteed daily rewards and offers. Coral, we're here for it.
Okay then, best angles on Saturday. Michelle Yu, before she left earlier on, went for notable speech and also full Serrano. I'm going to come to you first, Simon. Best Saturday angle for you?
Oh, I'll probably go for after the supporting case you made for the horse I fancy. I'm going to go for Shariar in the turf as a value play at around 10-1.
Yeah, you've talked me a little bit into having a couple of quid there as well. So I'm going to be. I mean, I want and hope and think that JRB is going to run an absolutely massive race, but I also do think the two George Bowie horses. I think both believing that lovely draw in Soprano with her stepping up in trip. I'll be surprised if either of those two don't get into the mix. So I'm going for at least maybe an each way George Bowie double. How's that for Saturday?
Sounds good.
What about you?
I've got to have to be the classic. I'm going to have to upset the City of Troy fan club by going for Fierceness. I think he's got everything in his favour. As interesting what Michelle was saying, they thought he was a good juvenile, but he is a late developing 3-year-old. I think he's getting better Fierceness. Jim Dandy form's good. Travers form excellent. Loves the dirt. John Velasquez on. Good draw in 9. And a vulnerable favourite, dare I say it, in City of Troy. So I think he's top value still around 4-1, 9-2.
And he's not a deep closer, is he?
No, he's more of a front runner, isn't he? But you've got to buck the trend sometimes.
That's it. I thought I knew you. After this 90-minute show, I thought I got you figured out, but you threw a curveball in at the end. Last shout for anyone on the chat. What have we got? Or Darren says, after notable speech flopped at Ascot, I took 14-1 for this race because I expected him to bounce back. I mean, to be fair, I'd say that was a bold shout, but given Appleby's record, you were ahead of the game there. Mark Southern go for Porter Fortuna and Lee Richardson. I love Porter Fortuna and we'll go with the heart as well. Right, thanks guys. I enjoyed that.
Thank you, Ross.
Let's hope we're right on every count.
If Sierra Leone wins, I'm just turning off immediately.
It. However, if Chancellor McPatrick rattles home and gets up to win by a nose,
that'd be great.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
Okay, and Simon, enjoy the sunshine.
I will try. I'll try. It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
Yeah, that is true. It is true. Thank you for your service. That's October done with. We're off to go trick or treating and see what we can find, and we'll be back next week for it's the start of the jumps extravaganza, Simon.
I will be. Listen, I am coming home. Yes, I'm not staying out in California.
yeah, fair enough. Okay, yeah. Sorry, the week after it is.
Winter.
Yeah. And then we've got your Cheltenhams and your Ascots and your Newberries and all sorts of fun and games to come. Okay, like the stream if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. Enjoy a weekend of California fun and games. Good night.